This contract would take him to age 39. Stu, what do you make overall of this deal? Obviously, he just said there the term was kind of a big factor for him.
Yeah, a lot to unpack. A few points to make about all that. We don't see this kind of it's a club-friendly deal at the end of the day. I think a guy like Yanni Gourde, you know, some 50-point seasons, not all that far removed for him. Going to free agency, he's probably got the ability to capture significantly more than his 2.33 AAV per season, or even over, you know, a bit of term, like 3 or 4 years. But clearly, the fit is great for Yanni Gourde. This is where he wants to be. You know, don't take my word for it. You just heard him say
exactly.
it. But there's a lot to like in this fit, without question. There is familiarity. You know, I look back over my career, and I'm sure this is kind of the process that a guy like Yanni Gourde goes through. There are certain moments, certain teams, irrespective of the club's overall success, what was the fit for you personally with respect to this roster? And clearly for Yanni Gourde and the Tampa Bay Lightning, it's a hand in glove. This is a guy that can play anywhere in your roster. He's going to get you consistently 30, 40-plus points per year. And again, he has the flexibility to provide a number of different roles for you, and he fits the model. He fits the identity. He fits the DNA, if not helps to, you know, embolden and enhance that identity and that DNA. So that's really interesting where Yanni Gourde is concerned. I think where the club is concerned, being able to button this guy down 4 or 6 years gives you a good bit of predictability, a deeper part of your roster. He could probably factor in your top 6. I do think at some point in the future, you're going to see an important free agent acquisition and them try to add a little firepower to that top 6.
Sure.
And perhaps that slots Yanni Gourde down a little bit lower in the roster. And again, for a guy making 2.3, getting 35-ish points a year for you, that's a pretty good contribution, a pretty good way to slot somebody like that. And two, you know, the third piece I would add, aside from the personal fit, the club fit for Yanni Gourde, and just this contract, you know, again, a somewhat club-friendly deal allows them the cap space, the flexibility to go out and attract somebody at an even higher dollar figure. So this makes great sense at the end of the year. And again, I do think, and have felt for quite a while, the window remains pretty wide open for these Tampa Bay Lightning, just in terms of their ability to go on a good deep run with guys like this on the roster.
Yeah, and obviously they're competing with their cross-state rivals and the Florida Panthers, who are giving them a run for their money and eliminated them from the playoffs here the last couple of years. So with that said, I am kind of curious, and you just mentioned it, but you feel this window is still open for this group. They do have, Yanni Gourde was part of that core that won the 2 cups. So they have a lot of those pieces there. And he talks about the culture and feeling like that it is still there in the room when he came back from the trade from Seattle. What is that window there? And I mean, how big is it still for this group? Because it seems like you can never count them out.
No, I would agree with that. Again, I don't think the way they're currently constructed, and maybe this is a lesson they've learned last year, if they had some more firepower up front, it would serve them well without question. So I do believe that may be an area where we see Tampa get busy from July 1 forward. But back to Yanni Gourde for just a moment. If we haven't made the point already, you know, you go out, you attempt to make transactions. Florida did it this year. Edmonton's done it to some degree. We've seen clubs do that. You know, you're adding depth pieces to hopefully make a contribution on the ice, but help to kind of embolden and enhance that identity. Why go out when you have a Yanni Gourde right there in your back pocket? Why go out and try to capture a player like that for your roster when it's a bit of a wild card? You haven't had him on your roster before. You don't know what you're going to get. But here's a guy like Yanni Gourde who's been a part of you, you know, through some great success over time. He's a known commodity, is the point that I'm trying to make. Makes great sense to button down a guy like that. You know, even playing in a third-line role, guys like this can influence a roster just by virtue of the tangibles, certainly, the way they play the game on the ice, but the intangibles as well. So, again, you've got a piece like Gourde, button him down. He's part of the program going forward.